tonight, if that sounds like it works. Does that work for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. So I'm going to put you down for 5:15. When you arrive at the dealership, you'll see parking spots designated for internet department and appointments, so you can park there. When you come inside, just ask for the receptionist, use my name, and then I'll put you with one of my solutions provider, and they'll take it from here, and we'll get you all squared away. Before I hang up, though, there's one last thing I wanted to ask you. You and I have talked on the phone now, and we've talked about kind of your goals. We've talked about what you're hoping will happen, but if you could share with me, what is it about the conversation, or what is it about the car you're looking for? What is it that's going to, for you, be the main reason you're wanting to come in at 5:15? Because you could obviously do something else. You could go to a movie, you could go to the mall, you could just stay at the house. What was it about our conversation or about the car you're looking for? Why are you coming in at 5:15? That's the question. The gist of it. The thing that I want to do that's different than just setting an appointment is I want to ask them, I want to give them permission to not keep the appointment. I want to say, instead of coming in at 5:15, you could do other things. You could literally go to the mall, you could go to the movies, you could even go to another dealership. I mean, you can go anywhere. I mean, if at 5:15, if you got nothing else to do, you could do anything else. But you've just set an appointment to come in here. What is it about the car or about our conversation that's causing you to commit to this appointment? That's the essential question. What is it about the car, or what is it about the conversation we've had that's causing you to commit to this time? And let them answer. And what I find is, closing the loop with them ending the call, telling you the reasons why they're going to come in, makes it psychologically harder for them to not come in. Does that make sense? Because sometimes what happens, honestly, is we go through motions pretty quickly on a phone call, especially if we're pretty good at what we do, is we'll go through the motions and we can set an appointment within 2 minutes or 3 minutes of being on a call with somebody. But the truth is, the customer just kind of went through your checklist of questions and was just reflexively responding to you. A lot of times that happens because we're taught to ask either ors and leading questions, and people just kind of ping pong through our process. But it doesn't mean they are emotionally or psychologically present in the call. But if you get them to the end of the call and they commit, and you say, do you mind if I ask you this one last thing before you come in? Is, you've set aside 5:15 as a time to come in. But, honestly, at 5:15, instead of coming to the dealership, obviously you could do other things. You could go to a mall, you could go to a movie, you could go to another dealership. I mean, really, you could do almost anything. But you've just committed to 5:15. What was it about our conversation, or what was it about the car that you're interested in that's causing you to commit to that time? And now you give them a chance to truly reflect on their reasons and their motivations. And if they can give you a pretty good answer, your confidence level to keeping the appointments should be really high. If they don't really have any good answers and the call lasted 2 minutes, your confidence level would probably be really low. I don't know, I might come in, right? And it's like, oh, okay, so that's where we're at, really. So this is where sometimes going through the motions too quickly and setting an appointment within 3 minutes is risky, because you get people to just passive aggressively say yes to your questions, but they're not actively engaged in the conversation. There's no buy-in. You follow me?
Yeah, so how would you handle it if that goes like, yeah, and then you're passive in it?
I say I appreciate that. Listen, going shopping for a car, I go back into fact-finding, and I go back into empathy and rapport building, and I go back into proactivity at that point. Because I probably, like I said, if you didn't have a really meaningful conversation with the client, you're more likely to get this passive-aggressive agreements to your techniques, and then at the end, there's no real commitment to come in, right? They're not really committed. They just went, yeah, oh yeah, that's fine, yeah, that's fine. But in the back of their mind, they're like,
Yeah.
So if they get to that point and you can sense that they're not bought in, that is your clue that you didn't understand wants and needs, you didn't understand hot buttons, and you didn't really position yourself as an empathetic person who's trying to solve their problem. You were just in appointment setting mode. So that's when I would just probably back up a step and say, folks, actually, you know what? Before we go, I realize, we've only talked for 2 minutes, and honestly, I don't even think I really understand why you guys are looking for this car. Because I may have an alternative for you, and it would be better use of your time if I understood a little bit better what alternatives. would you be willing to share with me, what is it that you're actually trying to do? And then just back up, go back into needs analysis, go into some fact finding, and get them to start to talk about what they're trying to do. And the more they feel that, the more they'll feel a connection to you and an obligation to show
That's
up.
what I was thinking, the more time you spend, the more obligated.
Yeah. So my personal preference on an inbound sales call is a minimum of 7 minutes is a target. I don't want to be less than 7 minutes on an inbound call.